Okay. Good morning. I see a lot of people here this morning who were also here last night. Yes. You get a special award. See me outside after. Thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. It is a thinly attended service this morning because we had 2 events yesterday, and there's a possibility that some people might be churched out. I'm pretty sure I might be churched out after this weekend. But I am the Reverend Ed Proulx. Thank you very much for coming. It's wonderful to see all of you. Why don't we take a minute and just say hi to somebody that you did not drive here with and don't live with. Just give a brief hello to somebody. So, I would like to review some of the events of this week, which have just been absolutely spectacular. Last Sunday after service, we had a letter writing campaign, a Get Out the Vote letter writing campaign, which we held upstairs in room 205. And we were prepared for room 205, but we had so many people that we had to have half of them sit in 208. And by the time I got upstairs to write my letters, all the names were gone. We had run out of names. How spectacular is that, right? So talk about meeting expectations. We met them, and then you couldn't even see expectations in the rearview mirror from where we were. And one participant had been doing this for a long, long, long time, and she told someone there that as many of these as she's been to, the last one she saw that was this well attended was during the McGovern campaign, to give you a historical reference, right? So how fantastic is that? So thank you very much for everybody who participated. Getting the vote out is so important, as you know. Also, yesterday we had our end of life session, which was put together by 3 members and me. It was super well attended. We set up 15 chairs and need to get more chairs. So I think we ended up with 25 people at that. The second session, which is a continuation, not a duplication, is not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So we hope to see you there and continue that. And then last night, as I mentioned, the stewardship dinner was a full house. Great job. It was so good to see all of you there. I hope those of you who did come had a good time. And thank you to Mary for chicken cacciatore and beef stroganoff. It's wonderful. We have an informal gathering after church. We have 2, actually. You can meet out here in the gathering place, have a cup of coffee, and then if you're still hungry after that, we will go to we just pick a place around here and we all go to lunch together. Today we're going to Beck's Prime, which is down on, Westheimer and Augusta, right. Big tree, you can't miss it. We hope to see you all there. And then one more quick announcement is that due to a technical error, we have listed in your order of service Alejandra Posada as the worship associate. That is wrong. The worship associate is Beryl Comiskey. Thank you, Beryl, for coming. Beryl was instrumental in. Beryl did not help with the stewardship drive, and she did not help with the stewardship dinner. That's the official answer. No. She absolutely helped, but she's only a proxy for Dory. She wants to make it absolutely clear that she's not helping. She's just a proxy for Dory. So as a proxy for Dory, I now invite Beryl to let you know about the stewardship campaign.
So I am reading words Dory gave me, so these are her words. Hi, Emersonians. I love Emerson and want the church to thrive. Oh, well, you'll hear them. In the 7 years since the Wolf Clan was in Houston, this church meant so much to us. You befriended us. We were welcomed into circle dinners and other social events. You educated us. With each sermon and class provided, we grew in mind and spirit, and you challenged us with calls to social action and volunteer opportunities. You nurtured us when we were struggling, like when Fred, her father-in-law, was dying. You were there for us. Even though the Wolf Clan is now on the East Coast, I still benefit from the gifts Emerson has given us. My life continues to be enriched by Emerson through the Sunday services and the Stewardship Committee. As Beryl mentioned last night on my behalf, it is inevitable that over time I will find in-person community locally, but my heart will expand to encompass both Emerson and whatever new church community I find. For that reason, I continue to pledge to Emerson. Now, did you note that? She moved away like 7 months ago, and she's still pledging. What a wonderful person. I hope you will consider the gifts Emerson has to give and do take advantage of them, as you will be richly rewarded. If you were not able to attend the dinner last night and submit your pledge, there is still time to get the Made by Lori prize, hint, hint, delicious cookies, if you submit your pledge for 2025 today. Getting all our pledges in a timely manner helps the Board of Trustees to budget for the next year and helps us recruit volunteers for the effort. Thank you for supporting Emerson and helping us all thrive in mind and spirit. And now, please enjoy our prelude as we formally begin our service. As we gather in community, we look within ourselves and to each other for strength, restoration, and inspiration, so that as we journey together, we catch the spark of the eternal Spirit, and from that spark, we light our chalice flame. Lighting the chalice flame symbolizes to all that the spirit of our congregation is strong, and that our will to transform ourselves and the world is also strong. We light the flame with gratitude. We light the flame in memory of all who have gone before, in honor of all who are here now, and with joy for all who are yet to come. As Linda Condit lights our chalice flame here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you joining us from home to light a candle or chalice of your own. Our chalice lighting words this month are from Reverend Chris Rothbauer. Reverend Chris is currently serving as the minister in Carrollton, Texas at Horizon UU. Prior to arriving at Horizon, Reverend Chris served congregations in Michigan and Alabama. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on the screen. We gather together this morning because others came before us. Some have left examples for us to follow, other lessons for us to learn from. And the paradox is that many have left both pain and joy. We honor our ancestors this morning, not because they are perfect, but because without them we would not be here, together sharing our joy, our pain, our living, and our dying. As we work to create beloved community, we welcome all who would join us in building a better world with more love, more justice, and more peace. We welcome all who would join us in growing in mind, heart, and spirit. We welcome all who would join us in tearing down systems of oppression of all kinds. We welcome all who would join their purposes to ours in a loving spirit of right relationship. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you loved, you are welcome here. And now we have our presentation of This Week in Unitarian Universalist History with Richard Cummins.
Good morning. Good morning. So I'll be reading from this wonderful book, This Day in Unitarian Universalist History. For the week of September 30th through October 6th, I've selected a few very interesting items. On September 30th, 1751, Elhanan Winchester was born in Brookline, Massachusetts. He began his career as a Baptist minister and converted to Universalism during the Great Awakening Revival movement in Massachusetts. An excellent linguist, eloquent preacher, and pioneer of Universalism, Winchester wrote dialogues on universal salvation in 1790 and other theological works, as well as anti-slavery pamphlets. He preached widely in England and New England and was prominent in the founding of Universalism in America. He died on April 18, 1797. On that same day, in 1755, John Marshall was born in Germantown, Virginia. It's now called Midland. He fought in the Revolution and became a Unitarian and lawyer. He served as a delegate to the Virginia Convention to ratify the U.S. Constitution, 1788. President John Adams offered him a seat on the Supreme Court in 1798, but Marshall declined. However, he was elected to Congress, became Secretary of State under President Adams, and was named Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court in 1801. He issued many important opinions for the court, including Marbury versus Madison, 1803, which gave the Supreme Court the right to invalidate laws. Chief Justice Marshall wrote the 5-volume Life of George Washington from 1804 to 1807, and he died on July 6, 1835. On October 2nd, in 1755, Hannah Adams, who was the first woman in America to earn her living as a writer, was born in Medfield, Massachusetts. A pioneer in comparative religion, Adams wrote a dictionary of religion, a summary history of New England, the truth and excellence of the Christian religion exhibited, and the history of the Jews. She also wrote letters on the Gospels. James Freeman, the Unitarian minister of King's Chapel in Boston, was a strong supporter of Adams, and she was the only woman allowed into the Boston Athenaeum. Adams' writings were standard Unitarian Sunday school texts for 2 generations. And lastly, in 1881, the first Unitarian church in Budapest, Hungary, was founded. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Why are we reviewing our history? Our history is long, and people don't know our history. But we have to review our history without attaching ourselves to it too strongly. You have to remember, a lot of these people that Richard was just talking about were very, very Christian people. This was a different time. Unitarianism and Universalism both were Christian religions. So, we here in this congregation think it's also important to recognize the history of the area around us, which in this case involves a history that is both shared and harmful. Our congregation's buildings are situated on the home of the Karankawa and the Atakapa peoples who were here for at least 2,000 years before European settlers came. And as I mentioned last week, if you haven't seen Texas Monthly, did anybody pick up the article on the Karankawa in Texas Monthly? It's a pretty good article. You might want to pick up an edition and read that if you don't already get it. So it was an interesting thing, and we learned a lot that I think a lot of you were taught something that wasn't true about the Karankawa, so you might want to take a minute and look into it. Each time, my friends, we are gathered here, we hear words from the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Today we hear the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who, to quote David Letterman, needs no introduction. Here are his words, famous words excerpted from the letter from a Birmingham jail, which if you've never read the letter to from a Birmingham jail, read it. It kind of rambles on, but read it. And it repeats itself, but read it. Just sit there and read it. It'll take you 15 minutes to read it. It is an important piece of getting yourself to connect with what was going on at the time. And what he's doing here in this piece of the letter is he is addressing white Christian ministers who have criticized him for poking his nose into Birmingham's business. In this section of the letter, he says, "Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one of us directly affects all of us indirectly. Never again can we afford to live outside. Never afford can we again to live with the narrow provincial outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives in these United States can never be considered an outsider." And now, with our chalices lit and our hearts and minds centered, we invite you to sing a hymn with us. Please join us. You may stand if you feel good. If you want to sit, stay seated. Whatever you choose to do, just join your voices with ours. We are going to sing hymn number 1010, "We Give Thanks." It's in the Teal hymnal, 1010 in the Teal hymnal.
Emerson collects an offering each week like many other communities of faith, but our offering is not for our church, which is supported by the annual pledges of our members. We collect our Sunday offering to give to others because we know that giving is both a transformative spiritual act and an important way to live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our October's Share the Plate recipient, Texas Environmental Justice Advocacy Services. Its goal is to promote environmental protection through education, policy, development, community awareness, and legal action because all people are entitled to live in a clean environment regardless of race or economic condition. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to Interfaith Ministries' Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our webpage for online giving, put cash or check in our offering basket, or mail a check to the church. During the offering music, children who want to attend their RE class may follow one of our wonderful teachers to their classrooms. Who's the teacher today? No? Okay. Thank you.
My friends, today, at this part in our service, we offer you the opportunity to just relax and bring yourself into a sense of oneness with all things here in the room and with all things elsewhere in Houston, elsewhere in Texas, and elsewhere in the world. And I would like to offer you the opportunity today to pause and reflect on the fact that tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the beginning of the current troubles in Gaza and Israel. These troubles began 1 year ago today as the Gazans acted in a way that they thought they needed to. And then the Israelis responded in a way that they thought that they needed to. And the world is left, and the Gazans were left, and the Israelis were left with a political, socio-economic mess. And we invite you today to just sit with that fact that we are here again, as many of you have been in the past over and over, hearing about news from that part of the country that makes your hearts cry and your souls weep. Just sit with these facts and that tomorrow is that awful anniversary.
The words for our second reading today come from psychiatrist Dr. Ryan Nemec. Dr. Nemec is an educator, practitioner, and chief science and education officer at the VIA Institute on Character, a nonprofit organization that leads the global advancement of the science of character strengths. He has written 14 books, over 100 academic papers, and several hundred user-friendly articles. He says you need these 7 things to thrive. Number 1, a positive perspective. I see the good in the future. 2, religiosity and spirituality. I am connected with the universe in a meaningful way. 3, proactive personality. I try to challenge myself. 4, motivation. I am motivated to grow. 5, knowledge and learning. I learn, therefore I know. 6, psychological resilience. I overcome, rise up, and benefit from my struggles. And 7, social competence. It matters that I connect with others.
So how about those 7 things? They seem pretty meaningful, pretty important, I think, right? Would anybody say, nah, you don't need to do that? Of course not. These are all things that I think, when I read this, I said, yes, this is it. I said, positive perspective. You have to see the good in the future. I guess that makes sense, right? Otherwise, why bother? Religiosity and spirituality. I'm connected with the universe in a meaningful way. Again, if you're not connected with the universe in a meaningful way, what are you? What are you doing? Proactive. I try to change myself. Motivated. I'm motivated to grow. I guess that makes sense. If you had all these other things, but you were just sitting on the sofa, would that help? Right? Psychological resilience. I overcome, rise up, because guess what? Not everybody's going to see the world the same way you do. Social competence. It matters to me that I connect with others. When I read those things, what I thought about was Emerson. I thought about all those things and your recent history. It's getting on 10 years now, and even your past history. All history's in the past. That's a ridiculous thing. All your history, your longer ago history. When I read those 7 things, I said, you know what? That's Emerson, isn't it? That's what they are. That's what they do. And if you could imagine Emerson as its own thing, separate from you, which is not true, but if you could imagine it as its own institution, let's say, that institution has these personality traits. That's what I see. Am I wrong? Nothing. Am I wrong? No, I don't think I'm wrong. I've only been here a year. Some of you have been here a long time. But that's the personality traits that I see. And I see those personality traits despite the fact that church has not been easy over these last, 30 years? Going on 40 now? Church attendance is down, folks. Look at the size of this building and the number of people here. Now, we had all this stuff going on this week. There's usually more of you here than this. But look at the size of the building. Estimates are that the worst attending church groups are white people, middle-class people, and the worst of all of them is children. Just not coming back to church, especially after COVID. COVID really caused a lot of disruption, and finding our way back on a path like we were on before was problematic. So, white middle class people with a lack of children, does that sound familiar to any of you? And it's not just Emerson, folks. That's what I want to make sure you know. It's not just Emerson. What percentage of people attend religious services, quote, every week or almost every week? According to a Gallup poll, 30% of Americans attend church, quote, every week or almost every week. 56%, which for those of you who are light on math is more than half, 56% of people attend church, quote, seldom or never. And number 2 over here is I'm connected with the universe in a meaningful way. I'm not saying church is the only way to connect with the universe. So what churches are up in attendance? The more conservative the church, the higher the attendance right now. And I added this is my addition, this was not in the Gallup poll, but the more accommodating the church, the higher the attendance. And what I mean by accommodating is if their theology happens to align with your particular worldview, or if their theology tells you, for example, that if you just do these 3 things, you'll be rich, or you'll be saved, or some result will come your way. Here's the formula. Just follow the formula. The churches that are making church easy have higher attendance. That are just saying, just do this, are having higher attendance. The churches like this one who say, I don't know, what do you think? Are having trouble. However, that doesn't mean we change tax, because having a etched philosophy or an etched theology or a theology that you must believe in to be here does not work on the long term. I guarantee it. It may get you lots of shiny things on the short term, but it does not help on the long term. So, I'll ask you again, does this sound like anybody you know? Right? How are we supposed to thrive at Emerson if the tide is going out? Do we set sail and get the hell out of the harbor? No, we do not. We cannot. It's not who we are. We'd be inauthentic if we did it anyway. We're here. This is what we believe. This is what we do. And this is what we believe is right. So let's get to thriving for a minute. They asked me, the stewardship folks asked me to talk about thriving. So I did a little research on the word thriving, because I always assume when you hear a word like this, everybody knows what it means, but when you look it up, less so much, right? And every definition of the word thriving I could find seemed to have this implicit battle theme to it, right? Like we're somehow defeating something or winning at some sort of game that I didn't even know we were playing. So I'm looking at a couple ways of looking at the word thriving in a positive way. One of them meant grow, and had a lot to do with plants. They use the word thriving for plants a lot. Plants thrive here or there, or they don't thrive here or there. So there is a natural place where something will be easy for you, right? Thriving can also mean prospering, which in this capitalistic society that we're in also feels like it's got a battle under it, right? Like, I defeated those other guys who wanted the money that I got or something, you know, this battle-y sort of thing. But I'd like to invite you into a use or a thought about the word thriving that doesn't have anything to do with what other people are doing. Maybe thriving doesn't have anything at all to do with comparing ourselves to other people or other groups. Sure, there are more people over at Joel Osteen's church than there are here. I'm okay with that. I would rather have you here and teaching this message and preaching this message than, and I'm not singling out good old Joel, it's just because he's right across town. You know, I would rather have you here with us on this journey together. So what if thriving, what if we were in control of what it means to thrive? What if we are in absolute control of what it means to thrive? What would that look like? Well, first of all, I have good news for you. You are in control of what it means to thrive. You are in control of your own happiness. Right? Now that's a double-headed coin, right? That's good news and it's bad news. You know, we are in complete control of what it means to thrive. I am, you are, we are in complete control of what it means to thrive. Just as our Emersonian ancestors were. People you've never met. Emersonians who left First Church and broke ground here, over there, right there, in this lot, on a rainy St. Valentine's Day in 1960. Those people did that. Those Emersonians who hired their first minister, Horace Westwood, who our Westwood Hall is now named after. Those Emersonians, 140 of them, who gathered in what is now Westwood Hall for the first service in that church's history on yet another rainy day. Something about rainy Sundays back then, I suppose. Those Emersons who built this sanctuary that you're sitting in right now in 1980. Those Emersonians who 19 years ago worked to found the Harris County Drug Court, which is still functioning and still keeping long-term drug addicts out of prison. Those Emersonians who 20 years ago built Delaney Hall, the first LEED certified church building in Texas. That is walking your talk, isn't it? And it was only the second LEED certified church building in the country at the time it was built. And my friends, those are just some of the highlights, skimming the surface of your history. There were crop walks, AIDS support, providing housing for medical patients who couldn't afford to stay here at our hospitals, adopted teacher programs where we just help teachers get the stuff they need. God forbid our school district did that. And the Model United Nations, the United Ministries, which according to your history, right now we give money to United Ministries and they deliver the food, but back when, it looks like to me, by reading the history, you were delivering the food. This is all walking the talk. And it's not all history, right? I want you to just give one example. Right now, our ESL program has 100 people taking English lessons, all run by volunteers, and because of you, funded by this church, housed at this church. So, and it's 100 people that we don't ask questions to. Super important. We don't ask them for any papers. Name, address, show up, that's it. Really, really important. So when I think about all the work that we're doing, and listen, I'll tell you right now, I know I missed a lot. So you come up after and tell me what I missed. That's fine. I'm willing to hear it. There are 900 pages of your history. I couldn't read them all. But I want you to look at it from this perspective. When you apply for a grant, What the people who are willing to give you grant money is, what they want to know is what your impact is going to be. Sure, we're going to give you this much money and you're going to teach 100 people how to speak English. So what? Why should we care? Well, because those 100 people are going to go get jobs, and those 100 people are going to keep their kids in school, and those kids are going to get jobs, and those kids are going to go to university. And so the tree that comes off of one person sitting in our ESL program over time goes like this. So the impact of that one person sitting in our ESL program, that impact of that one person who we delivered food to 20 years ago, the impact of the AIDS walk and the AIDS support and the crop walk, I can't imagine the impact that we have had. How many families do you think Emersonians, past and present, have helped? 100? I know it's more than 100. 1,000. Probably 10,000, right? Or is that maybe even undoing it? Maybe some of these kids from our ESL program have now had kids. You don't know. I'm assuming. Maybe our impact is 50,000 families. And that doesn't even count the people that go to church here. That's just the people we help in the community. The people who come to church here, come here, they grow in mind, they grow in spirit, they grow in love, and most importantly, they grow in being able to see the world through someone else's eyes. I'm not saying you couldn't do that before you got here. I'm saying this place made it easier for you to do that, made you better at being able to do that. Connecting with God and connecting with our universe and connecting with each other. This is what we've done here since that rainy St. Valentine's Day in 1960. Over that time, we have proven that Emersonians are bound to hear the call of the universe. We have proven that Emersonians are bound to hear the call of each other, and we have proven that we are bound to hear the call that comes from deep inside all of us. We have proven this. And we have proven this, my friends, in a country that has lost its way. This state of Texas has most definitely lost its way. We have politicized each other's health. We have politicized each other's very existence. The TV commercials about transgendered athletes, especially transgendered females. How did we get to a point in this country where transgendered athletes are a Senate election item? I did some research on this because it was driving me crazy. I try not to watch too much TV, but you can't anyway. Millions and millions of dollars have been spent to make this a Senate race issue. Millions and millions of dollars have been spent. And by all estimates of experts, and I read several reviews, by all estimates, there are about 100 trans female athletes in the country. Emerson has just spent 60 years of history of spreading love. Along with love comes justice. But love is justice, but it's way past justice, my friends. Emerson is important, and this ridiculous issue that's being made an issue is just simply proof that Emerson is important. Houston is better because of Emerson. I guarantee you. Texas is better because of Emerson. Many people feel that Texas is a mess. Imagine what it would be if it weren't for people like Emerson. Today we are asking you to fund Emerson's budget for the coming years. Funding a church can be boring. I get it. paying for lights, staff, cleaning, carpet, blah. It's boring. But when you're paying for those things, that's not what you're paying for. You're paying for the work that we all do together. How many families has Emerson helped over the past years? Over the past years since that rainy St. Valentine's Day in 1960, how many families have we helped? 50,000? Maybe I'm underestimating those families. How many will it help 10 years from now? Another 50,000? Another 100,000? 20 years? 50 years from now? The impact of Emerson is ridiculously wide, wider than any of us could be on our own. Your dollars that you give here at Emerson, yeah, they go to turning on the lights and pension funds and boring things, but that's not what they're for. Texas is better off with a higher functioning Emerson. Houston is better off with a higher functioning Emerson. Look around you. You are all better off with a higher functioning Emerson. And this year, when you consider your pledge, I'm going to ask you to check that box. Check that box that says, I am committed to making Texas a better place. Sure, it has a dollar amount there, but what it's really saying is, I'm committed to making Texas a better place. I'm committed to making Houston a better place, and I'm committed to making Emerson excellent. The world, my friends, as I am fond of saying to you, and you will hear me say the whole time I am here, however long I am blessed to be here, the world has a right to expect that of us. Amen. And now I ask you to join us in singing a hymn, a second hymn, our closing hymn. Now this hymn, okay, hang on a minute. This hymn has a little bit of history here at Emerson. This is the hymn. We sang this hymn, and then I looked at y'all and said, I've never been in a church where nobody danced to that hymn. And then the choir stopped and sang the hymn again. Do you remember that day? So we're just going to skip that first part. And we're going to go right to the part where y'all dance to the hymn. Let it be a dance. You can stand if you want. You can sit. Please sing with us. Rise your voices. Raise your voices. Join with ours. Let it be a dance. Number 311 in the teal hymnal if you want to follow along. Gray hymnal, sorry, 311, yes. crazy people. There we go. Oh, I'm all flustered now. Each time we come together, we move. We move with the words we hear. We move with the music we hear, and sometimes we even dance. We move with the light of the chalice, which, like us, flickers and flutters from side to side and is yet tethered to its source. We extinguish our chalice now, not as a symbolic ritual, but as a practical ritual. We do this because the flickering and fluttering light of our chalice is carried in this congregation and with each of us present here today, with each of us who are not present today, with those who left this community long time ago, and most importantly, for those who have yet to arrive. We are so grateful for your presence this morning. For those of you who joined us on YouTube, hello. And we are happy you are here. We will be ending our live stream after the prelude, and we hope to see you back again soon. Thank you to all online attendees. Thank you to everybody here. And I offer you this benediction and look forward to seeing you again soon. May we, in the course of our week to come, be able to feel the liberating freedom of this religious path we share. May our gods welcome us. May they challenge us to live up to our own expectations of ourselves, wherever and whatever they are. And may the world around us light up so that we may see our way back to clarity and wholeness. Amen.